Are you an anxious interviewee? You are not the only one. Lots of people get very nervous when they're interviewing, and here are some tips today to help you get over those nerves. Hey everyone, I'm Emily, the Career Catalyst. Interview nerves are not something that you should feel bad about. It's often something that we feel a bunch of undue pressure around simply because we are facing something that is meaningful to us. So if you are kind of nervous in this process, there are a few things that you can do that are going to make your life a little bit easier. First of all, before you start your interview, I recommend that you start by taking some nice deep cleansing breaths. This is before you get into the room. You might even go into a public restroom before your interview starts if you're in person, and take a few minutes just to kind of calm yourself down, do some shoulder rolls, kind of stretch out, open up your body language so you really kind of gain that confidence of that nice open body language. If it's a virtual interview, you can just step away from the camera and do that, or you can do it before they get on. It's no sweat either way. But that kind of nice open body posture is really going to cue some sense of confidence in you. So it's really a good thing to do. If you are in person, also be sure that you take some time at the beginning of your interview to jot down the names of your interviewers and then make eye contact with them as you go around the room. This is the same kind of idea on camera, except that, of course, a lot of that jotting down of things will be off camera. And so just let them know as you're doing it, because what will happen is you'll look away from the camera and you don't want that to read as rude. So you'll just say, sort of write it down and say, just want to make sure I get your names and I spell them correctly, and then write them down. And that's really just going to let them know that that's what you're doing. You're not, staring at your lap for answers or whatever else. Then, as you're going through the interview, do remind yourself, this is very cheesy and very important, to smile. And that is because that cues you again psychologically to feel better about your process, to feel that you're really kind of confident even when you're not feeling it. It's just kind of one of those tricks that what we do with our bodies affects how we feel. So as you're going through, and especially as you get nervous, just take that moment, give them a smile. And if you need to ask them to repeat a question, don't hesitate to do so. It's a really common thing that happens in interviews. We get kind of stuck in our own heads, we get kind of anxious or whatever it is, and you just lose the thought. Feel free to say, oh my gosh, can you please repeat that question? I only got the first part of it. Or if you get halfway through an answer and you think, I actually don't know if I'm answering that question, same thing, just say, I got kind of lost in my train of thought there. Can we start again? First of all, can you repeat the question? I'm really going to try to focus on answering it this time. It's a very normal human thing to do. So don't feel bad if that happens. If you start feeling really anxious during the interview, just take a couple of nice deep breaths. And as you're talking to them, don't feel shy about taking time to answer the questions. I think a lot of us feel pressure to answer interview questions very, very quickly. And the truth is, it doesn't have to be quick. You can be thoughtful. You can take some time to come up with a better example than the first one you think of, and so forth. So if you're in person, don't worry about it too much. If you are on camera, just occasionally make sort of a gesture so they know that you haven't frozen. And if you're on the phone, make some sort of thinking noises, kind of noises. Repeat the question. You can look off to the side if you're on camera. You just are trying to let them know that you're still there. You're still kind of in the room with them and you're thinking about the answer. But as you're thinking about the answer, just keep kind of taking some nice deep breaths and think about kind of why they've asked the question. So that's another really nice tip to use if you get stuck. If you get a really weird question, or if you're trying to figure out why the heck they asked you that, back yourself up a tiny bit and think about what they seem to be seeking from that answer. And that will help you figure out how to answer the question. And then if you get really, really panicky and can't for the life of you think of an answer to a question, especially if it's a more challenging one, then you absolutely are welcome to say something like, you know what? I can't think of an answer to this question right now. I know I have an answer. Can we move on and come back to this question when I think of a good answer for it? And then really my ultimate pro tip for calming down your interview nerves is just to remember that this is a room, real or virtual, of human beings. They're just like you ultimately. They eat and sleep and all of that stuff that you also do. And so as you are kind of going through the interview process, just remind yourself that this is just other people. You might feel like they're sitting in judgment of you. They kind of feel that on their end as well. They're not trying to catch you out in any situation. They're not trying to trick you. They're not trying to bully you, anything like that. They're just trying to figure out if you are a good fit for this position. And you, meanwhile, are trying to figure out if you feel like you would fit into the office, the position, etc. So it's two-way street, and it's just human beings having a conversation. Try not to feel really deeply judged as you go through it, and try to feel pretty confident that you're just having a conversation with some other people. So I hope that's helpful to you. Let me know if you have stories about being nervous in an interview, or if you have any questions that you really want to ask, because I think this is a really normal experience for us. I'd love to hear your stories. In the meantime, have a fabulous weekend. I will see you here next week.